It's Tuesday afternoon, and you know what that means. It's time for Randomity with the Random Christian Show. Brought to you by Neil Getzlow's book, Unmasked, Conquering Sexual Sin and Walking in Victory. Order your copy now at neilgetzlow.com. Proudly brought to you by the SJ Network, bringing professional representation to artists, authors, and creators on all levels. Contact them at s-j-network.com. Also brought to you by Consolidated Skateboards, quality skateboarding decks and products, as well as shoes, shirts, and even blankets. On the web at consolidatedskateboards.com, or check them out at Instagram at Consolidated Skateboards. This great new intro music is provided by the Dead Campers. Their latest album, Savage, is out now, and their Christmas music is out. How cool is this? Today, Kristian welcomes stand-up comedian, voice actor, podcaster, and variety artist Tommy Drake, fresh off his USO comedy tour of Europe and fresh out of neck surgery. Plus, random questions of insanity. With us, as always, is our own master of Thanksgiving leftover meals, Matt E. My name is Andy, and I speak for the trees. Now here's your host, a man so random he never wears matching socks, Kristian Random.
Hey, well, welcome. And here I am. Hi. It's Tuesday, and it is the Random Christian Show. Welcome to Randomity, the bold process of knowing everything and talking about nothing in particular. So, which really isn't the pure definition of that, but it's close, and that's what counts. Welcome to the show. All right. Hi. I want to thank Andy for such a spectacular intro. Real quickly, kids, again, Neil Getzlow's book is out there. It's great, fantastic book, very eye-opening, something we've all been out there and we've dealt with, so make sure you check it out. Please, he's it's out there. It really touches on so much in your life that you think it's there, and then it isn't, and then you're like, oh wow, yeah, I guess so. And it's just very I don't know, like I said, I delved into it and I was just like, wow, yeah, I can see where I really get sucked into some of this stuff. And it happens with a lot of guys, and we're so numb to it nowadays. It's quite different. Also, last week we had on this show Movita Johnson-Harrell, and she has her Christmas gala coming up. It's a nonprofit gala that builds money for the nonprofit of the Charles Foundation, which is about so many things, giving into the community and controlling gun violence. So if you are out in the Philadelphia area, out that way, check it out. Check out her website. There's links to it on our webpage, therandomchristianshow.com. It is the 16th. I believe that's a Saturday. And it's a great event. There's going to be some great speakers there. It's going to be a great time. I think this is the fifth one, or third or fourth one. I think third or fourth. Yeah, that's really specific, wasn't it? No, it wasn't. But please make sure you check out Movita Johnson-Harrell. You can Google her, and you'll see the gala and all the information for that on her website as well. So, which should be on our website. So I just gave you all that information, and I'm going to quit boring you. And speaking of boring you,
whoa, wait, me? Me?
How's that
boring?
For a segue? No,
me?
No, you're not boring at all. It's a joke. It's a bit
was
of humor there. Was it a joke? That's what it was.
It wasn't a joke. No,
it was. No, it really wasn't.
Tiny joke. Okay, well, all right.
But welcome to the show, sir. Thank you so much for the gratuitous intro.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
Always have fun.
Always have fun. Glad to see you as well.
Yeah. How's the world out in the Northwest Pacific? Northwest
it's getting wetter. Yeah. So we were unseasonably dry for the summer, but now we're like on day 3 of 10 days of rain coming up. So
So it just rained every other day. Now it's raining pretty much every day.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So
that's
yeah.
the Pacific Northwest.
That's
And
yeah. So
yeah,
you know.
that's just such an
It's what I got. You know what? I knew when I moved here that I was gonna have to deal with rain.
right.
You know, so
But
get it.
neither did you realize you were going to be using a life raft to get to and from work in the store. So there
you know, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but
Well,
I'm great.
you work
I'm
from
great on
home.
a dinghy now. That's the thing, man.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hey, personal life out of this, buddy.
Family
I'm just
show.
saying.
Family show.
Family show. It's not the After Dark episode. Well, hey, man, we are excited to, speaking of excited, Mr. Excitement himself.
Oh man, there he
Bazinga,
is.
there he is. Matthew.
Hey guys, how's it going? Let's not get too crazy here today.
Oh wow.
Matt's been fired up on Adderall for the past 3 hours, so he's kind of on his downswing and
right.
Yeah. So,
and
things are
also
great.
practicing for NPR.
Right.
Okay, so
And now, after this,
kittens.
3-breasted Norwegian women.
Oh, speaking of,
how did that spark? How did that spark what's coming up here?
Yes.
Wow.
Speaking of 3-breasted Norwegian women, I have something for you guys.
Yeah, baby. We found a story and I put it on the actual page here of the random news type thing. And I'm just going to pull it up because it was amazing. Okay, yeah, open link. Oh, good Lord.
Oh, this is great. I love this. Is my favorite part.
Oh,
Open link.
Kristian tries to
good
open a link.
God. Why? Usually, if I press on it, it just opens it up.
I think it's
Now
the
it's asking me
pressure.
to-
I think it's the pressure when you're actually live. It's just nothing wants to work, and it just
So,
it
when
makes me
I'm
love
dead,
the show. It makes me love the
everything
show
works
even more.
Everything works perfect
Right.
when I'm dead.
But nope.
So
Nope.
okay, so I found this. Well, actually, I didn't find it. A guy at work is like, "Hey, dude, I found something really cool." We were talking about Christmas and Santa and things like that, and he's like, "By the way, I found something really cool for your show for the random news." And I'm like, "Oh, really? What's that?" Give me the story. 8 ways magic mushrooms explain the Santa story.
Huh.
Dude, there is so much in here that is just insane. Now we can do
Really?
this before or after.
I have a feeling that our
That's the
guest
director.
would have some decent insight into this story.
I see. I'm thinking, okay, that's what. Yeah. So, and by the way, my wife Matt was making focaccia. Now that I know the correct pronunciation, I was calling it focaccia. But
Focaccia is what we used to call it back in the day.
hey, listen, who you focaccia is
My old girlfriend's mom used to get mad.
Chia.
We'd be like, "What?"
So wait, now what is the proper pronunciation of this?
Focaccia?
Focaccia. Okay, because we always called it focaccia.
Focaccia.
No, forget you.
Yeah, forget you. But no, we always called it focaccia.
Hey,
all right.
let me tell you something.
All right.
I got something you can forget about.
Right.
Focaccia. Yeah.
She get her fingers in there, make dimples.
Whoa. Let's not.
I thought we were talking about bread making.
Yeah, no, she did.
That's the whole point. Yeah.
Yes. And
get your fingers dirty.
What's your point?
She put rosemary and olives.
Olive oil?
Olives. Kalamata olives.
Okay.
Mwah. Oh my good Lord Almighty, with little salt flakes on top.
Mm-hmm.
Did she put this on her TikTok?
I don't think so, because she was still experimenting with it. So
all right.
But yeah, she's gonna do another one and put it on her TikTok, which is LA Madsen. So anyway, yeah, it's mind-numbingly.
And then once it's done, you grate some mozzarella cheese on there and put it under the broiler.
There you go. That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
I mean,
and guess what? Chris remembered.
I was gonna. I didn't want to bring attention to it
All by
because
himself.
I'm just
Look
so
at
proud that you
Right
did it
over
on your
there.
own without me having to yell it at you.
That's
in a
right.
chat
It's
somewhere.
time to chat with us, kids. So feel free. The chat is up. So suck it. And Merry Christmas, by the way. Ho, ho, ho,
geez.
ho. Yeah, like Santa Claus said, you're a ho, ho, ho. Yeah, so if you're out there, kids, and you're watching and listening, feel free to join in on the chat. Type in and type away. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn and Twitch and yeah, all those places.
Anywhere live video is streamed.
Yeah.
That
well,
not hosted by
that
Amazon Web Services.
That's
Yeah,
correct.
that's right.
Currently today.
So, yeah,
Wah,
apparently
wah.
Amazon is bringing us down. So just
Yeah.
another way the man's fighting us and putting us down in the system. We do have Mr. Tommy Drake, comedian extraordinaire. And man, I watched some more YouTube stuff of his, and I was like at work, and I was just like sitting at my desk, cracking. Well, you've seen my desk, my little box that I
Yeah.
sit at, and I was like sitting, I was just cracking up, and they're like, Chris, we kind of got to. I'm like, yeah, you can do it, you can. You're fine."
Did you watch some of the earlier variety stuff?
The
bowling- like the
I watched
bowling
him
ball
at some
juggling?
clubs.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Did you watch the
Oh
bowling
yeah,
ball?
yeah,
Oh, I
yeah, yeah.
missed
And the
that.
carrot and
That's
the
like
knife?
one of the first ones I watched a while
Okay.
back.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
So yeah, and the knife.
I watched the
juggling.
ice cream truck one.
Yes. Oh my
That
god.
was,
the ice cream truck.
That was hilarious.
Oh my god. I was showing that to somebody. They're like, dude, that's so true though. I'm like, yeah, there you go. Get back to work.
Oh, that's an ambulance.
Yeah.
Been hearing about these things my whole life, and I never knew.
I know, it's amazing. It's awesome. Well, anyway, so yes, comedic extraordinaire, Mr. Tommy Drake's going to be on here in just a minute. Once we shut our yappers, Corey Hall, that's who we've been waiting for. Hola,
Congratulations,
amigo. Congratulations, Mr. Corey Hall will be wed in wedlock on Saturdays. So, well, I guess that's why he's wed. They're going to be wed.
He'll be locked in
Wedlock.
wed on
He'll be
Saturday.
locked in wed. There.
He'll be spoken for at that point.
I need to practice more Duolingo.
Linguo, yes. Me
There you
speaks
go.
English
Whoa,
good.
Yeah.
lingo, bro. Dude. Lingo.
Well, you can't do
whoa.
that today either because of the Amazon Web Services.
Wah, wah.
I was all excited too,
Womp,
man.
womp.
Yeah.
Get on there.
We need the sad trombone sounder.
Yeah.
Well, as long
Well,
as it's
somebody
not
was
the,
supposed to help me
the
make a
dumb
web page for that.
womp womp.
Somebody
Somebody
hasn't sent me what he
please.
needs yet.
Oh, I thought. Oh, that's right.
Uh huh.
Okay. I'm. Hi,
Can
welcome
only-
to
I
the
can
show.
only
My
do so
name's
much.
Kristian Random, and we're gonna have some fun. Are you ready, kids? 'Cause it's party time. And now
Mom.
Corey is mom.
Yeah.
Mom and dad are fighting again. Yeah, here it goes.
Yeah.
No, we haven't done the random news bits yet. That's when the real haranguing begins. So
Or the random questions, and it gives us too much time to think about.
yeah,
Man.
I'd see that's it. And
I
that's
added
the
some more
thing.
today, by the way.
It's comedy. You just gotta roll
Is
with the
it-
punches.
is
Y'all
it-
overthink everything. That's the problem.
Is it though?
Comedy. Comedy.
Comedy. Okay. It's a little bit of the laughy laugh. Okay. Yeah. Right.
Right.
Okay. Guess what's in the bag over here? A whole bunch of shut the hell up. Okay.
Zip it?
Yes.
Zip it.
Yes. So speaking of shut the hell up, Matt, guess what?
Oh.
Adios, amigos. I'll talk to you later.
Hi, Matt.
Back into
It's
the
time to
technical
Thanos
closet.
Hey, Andy, you want to do the Thanos snap?
Ready?
One. And
Yes!
there he goes. Yes. Nice play. All right.
Sorry, Matt. Love you, bro.
We do love Matt, but it is kind of fun to just feel like Thanos. And
Yeah.
So,
careful.
um,
Careful when you do that.
oh, Corey kind of stoked for this one. Literally happened upon Tommy by accident a couple of weeks ago. Oh, well, there you go.
Nice.
Like I said, I've been kind of perusing through the YouTube and and all the stuff he's done. I can't wait to talk to him about this because now and we will reveal. Do we want to wait to reveal the whole scenario here, or
No. So well, and we'll preface this just so people don't get shocked right when he comes on screen. So Tommy had neck surgery last week to repair some things in his neck. He had 4 bars put in. My mother in her old age likes to send out scar photos to the family on the family chat. So Tommy sent her the scar photo in confidence, but then we all got the scar photo individually. So there is a line of staples down Tommy's neck, and he's going to be in a brace today. But just as lucid, just as funny as he normally is. Hopefully my family's watching too. I sent them the link, so hopefully they can join in. But yeah, but Tommy has my mother's work ethic where he's like down for a day and then he has to get back up and start working.
Gotta go. Yeah.
So if he's down for more than a couple days, like he's twitchy, like he needs to get out there.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like the little drug that sort of, is like pushing him back out into the ethos, into the working world, getting to plug his upcoming stuff. And
we're the pushers giving him the free dope.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. We're enabling Tommy right now. That's what we're doing. Right. Yeah.
You
we're
want some
enabling
more,
the
kid?
behavior.
It's going to cost you.
Yeah. But no, he has done so much stuff and he has had an incredible sort of journey up to where he is now it's going to be very fun to sort of, hey, you did this. I mean, tell us about all this fun stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I got to pull my notes back up on him because, Matt was, so insistent.
So I'm sure that
having all this other stuff.
I'm sure that I missed. I know I missed some things in his bio when I sent them over to you, but he can fill us in. So
yeah, but yeah, okay. Well, listen. Let's not waste any time because we need to get your brother on here and before he
passes out from the
pain. Ladies and gentlemen, Tommy Drake, welcome to the show, sir.
Sorry I haven't called.
Kristian, thanks. Thanks for having me on, man. You guys just made me laugh and pop 2 of my staples. So,
awesome.
Crap.
Yeah, well
done.
ER's coming.
That'll make the follow-up surgery much easier. Follow-up appointment's going to go quick.
And Andy said if we got you to laugh hard, then that he owes me $5. So
I'm sorry if you already covered this. I think Kristian, you were asking Andy to reveal that he's my brother, that we're brothers, right?
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh. Andy's my brother. You guys might not know that, but
and you wouldn't tell by.
No.
Well, this. Yeah.
No, I was going to say
but
I'm not your brother.
I feel like I'm sort of qualified to be a guest on the show either way.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it's. I'm not here because somebody canceled, and normally if I didn't just have the neck surgery, there's no way I would have been able to do this because I'm always traveling and working, right? So positive side of the neck surgery is I get to hang out with you guys today.
Right. And we saw, I felt like I said, I found out last night that you were actually getting neck surgery. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. What is he going to be like in a hospital? Okay,
and that's
clear. Okay.
Well,
I'm back.
And honestly, and that's the one thing you can count on with Tommy is that like, if he couldn't give this 100%, like he wouldn't be here.
Yeah. Right.
Like, if he couldn't at least retain some of his comedic brilliance, if we want to put that there, like he wouldn't do this. So,
shots fired, dude.
So Tommy, like one of the reason why your name got brought up in this podcast earlier is that we were talking about Dave Attell, an Insomniac.
Oh,
right? Yeah. And then the episode where he walks around Astroworld, you set that up.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Sean Rouse, and it's all a sort of a Houston Austin comedy connection, but Sean Rouse, who is this sort of legendary underground comic that came up out of Houston, ended up being really good friends with Dave Attell, and I knew Dave from New York. So whenever he came to Houston, it was like a big party. And he was in Houston when Insomniac was happening. And he's like, I want to do one with you guys. What can we do? And I'm like, I can get you into the after hours astral world, into the theme park after hours. And, and we're such children anyway. They're like, yeah, we got to do that,
Dude, that was one of my favoriteest shows on Comedy Central. I would like sit there. If I knew there was a new Insomniac coming out, I was all over that. That was.
I'm glad you brought up Dave. This happens all the time in comedy, and I don't know why. Dave Attell used to be like a huge name, right?
Yeah.
In stand-up. And that he's still working, and it's 20 years later. And he can't sell out the clubs anymore. But he's 20 years funnier than he was. I mean, dude, he was already a gunslinger. Now it is ridiculous. If you get to see Dave Attell live, go see Dave Attell live, because there's very few people that make it to this master level. He's one of them.
Yeah, he's absolute genius. He's one of those guys that no matter what he's saying, you're just like, you can't keep up, because it's so funny. And I studied him, because I was trying to do improv and things like that. Yeah. I did a little bit of stand up, but nothing even spectacular. It wasn't even that funny. It was more funny to watch me up there and struggling, kind of like I do with your brother. But it's he's just so like,
he has a rhythm. He has a rhythm and a timing that's just classic, and it's so much sharper now than it ever was. So,
oh my God, I can't even imagine. Okay, but Dave, I love him, but this is Tommy,
the Tommy Drake hour.
And
Tommy, talking about me.
I want to reach out and just hold you, because
we're gonna go through the career. We're gonna go most recent.
Well, I mean, dude, you have an incredibly impressive resume. I mean, seriously, man. And I just because I know people that have been in the business and stuff like that. This was not. I mean, to do what you've done. Let's just start at the beginning, just real quick. Give me your resume, because I can sit here and read it, but.
I've been really fortunate when I started doing open mics, and when I started doing stand-up, which was right when I was finishing high school, getting out of high school. So when I was taking it seriously, was towards the end of the comedy boom. And there was actually work, and it wasn't glamorous work, but there was MC work for a guy like me I wasn't particularly funny, but I could write something original and I could deliver it like a comic, and that's who you wanted to host the show, because you're only getting $25 a show or whatever. But I didn't know, because I was 18, and that's where, and then I moved to Manhattan for a few months, and I'd go out, and every night it was like I was hanging out with like Louis Black or Dave Attell or Colin Quinn or Dave Chappelle or Chris Rock. And they were all they're all huge names now, but they were all kind of still fighting back then. And I was just randomly in the middle of that. And, and you know how it is. And every now and then you get to work with somebody, in the presence of somebody that's on a whole other level. It lifts you up a little bit, And
you absorb some of it. I mean,
you do, and you see how they conduct themselves on and off the mic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when I ended up moving to Houston in 1996 or 97, I was a pretty seasoned stand-up, and it was like the number 4 city for stand-up comedy. And it was like the number 1 city for access to roadworks, because you could drive Midwest and the South from Houston. Yeah. And then I was still working, 20 club weekdates at home. Right. And every single week, those first 2 years I lived in Houston, I was working, doing multiple shows in a comedy club with a celebrity headliner. Yeah. Everybody from Kevin Pollak to Joe Rogan, to Dave Chappelle, to Dave Attell, to Jake Johansson, to just anybody that you name. I did a week with them in the late 90s, either in Houston, Austin, Dallas, or St. Louis, or wherever. So it was just excellent timing for me. And I love watching, and I love paying attention, and I love studying.
I was going to say, you're studying, you're getting some kind of mental game up in your head as to, absorbing some of the stuff they're doing.
Yeah, for sure. And how they're getting there, how they're
Right.
how I got to see people like Brian Regan, come up with a premise in the afternoon and then deliver it that night.
Yeah.
And I was already together,
Yeah.
And who's another good one that I was just so impressed with how he turned something that happened during the day into his opening bit. Well, Jake Johansson was another one like that where
oh wow, yeah,
where he'd go on stage and you'd be like, where's he going with this? And it's a story about when you took him to lunch, and you're like, I was there too. I didn't write any story,
Yeah.
Did you happen to work with like Mitch Hedberg or anybody?
Yeah,
of those guys?
I knew,
Tommy,
I knew Mitch really well. Yeah,
Tommy's the voice on Mitch Hedberg's first CD. The voice that introduces him and the voice that takes him out on
the
Mitch's
voice that
CD.
takes him off. Actually, Mark Babbitt introduces him. I'm the voice that takes him off. My most popular soundbite is after the Dufresne, search party of 3, find the bushes. Right after that, you hear, keep it going for Mitch Hedberg. That's me. Yeah. That's my most popular soundbite, is me taking Mitch off stage. And get this, that was recorded, Strategic Grill Locations was recorded on a Tuesday night at the Laugh Stop in Houston for about 80 people that all got free tickets. Because we didn't know how to get enough people in there to make a CD. And Mitch didn't want any stand-up in front of him, and I was doing variety, so he's like, can you open for me and just not talk? Just not do any jokes? And I'm like, yeah, Mitch was like that. He wanted it to be kind of a freak show in front of him, and it was. And then Mark Babbitt, who managed the club, went up and gave Mitch the most awkward, horrible introduction in the history of stand-up comedy. And then Mitch and my good friend Chuck Savage, who was Mitch's bass player, who you guys should have Chuck on too.
Oh yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. Chuck's
just talking to Mitch's bass player is so fascinating. He never saw a Mitch Hedberg show from the audience.
Right.
Chuck only ever saw
doing the bass
from the stage behind him.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's fascinating. But yeah, Mitch was important. We were all kind of wrapped up together. The first time I opened for Mitch, he was also the support act. So he was the feature act. I was the opener, and the headliner was Brian Regan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
So Mitch and I are both like in awe of Brian, and Brian and I are in awe of Mitch, So I get to watch Mitch while sitting next to Brian, and I get to watch Brian while sitting next to Mitch. And it's like I was just in comedy heaven,
Yeah. Now, did you all like razz each other while they're up on stage, or did you just leave each other alone?
Not during the set. No, we were always respectful of the sets. We'd razz each other off stage a little bit,
Right.
Like if somebody had like a really strong set, like just destroyed, Right. A lot of times you'd come off stage, and during that time, during the comedy boom, there were a lot of nights where you went up and everything that you said just blew the room up,
Right.
And you get off stage, and usually your buddies come over and go, that was great. And the funny thing to do after that happened, the way we'd razz each other, is like nobody talked to him. Just nobody talked to him. And then like 5 minutes after, you just walk up to him and be like, were you happy with that?
Well,
as long as you're happy, that's what's important, man.
Okay.
But as long as you're cool, it's all right.
Tommy can't be in the audience of a stand-up show and you'd not know that he's there, and you not know that you're killing it with Tommy in the audience.
Yeah, I laugh really loud, and it's indistinctive. Or it's distinctly my laugh, So I popped into the back of the Melrose Improv one time. Nobody knew I was in LA. I flew out there for an audition. Just like went to the airport, bought the ticket, flew out, and went to the Melrose Improv because I knew some of my friends would be in there. I popped in. Scott Kennedy is on stage, and I am in the back in the dark. And Scott Kennedy does a joke, and I laugh. And Scott stops his set and squints at the light. He goes, "Tommy?" I go, "Yeah, hey Scott." He goes, "Are you in town? Why didn't you tell me you were coming?" I go, "No, man, I just." And he goes, "You want to hang out later?" I go, "Yeah, sure."
And everybody in the audience is like, "What the hell?"
But our mom has a similar laugh.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah, we have kind of a loud barking laugh.
Yeah, but it's hearty and it's a laugh. And
right.
I hate people who just go, no, laugh. It's healthy. Yeah, it's good for you.
Yeah, the face coverers always bug me. Like that, just let it out. You're laughing. It's okay.
Right. There's nothing wrong with laughing. I mean, if you're laughing because somebody just stabbed their eye, then I guess that's evil and it could be funny.
Then you can cover.
You know what?
Yeah.
If they have another eye, it's kind of funny.
You're like, hey, now you can be a real pirate. It's all cool.
If there's a redundant backup, it's okay.
Exactly.
And Matt from the back room just piped in and said, "It's still funny.
Still funny.
Yeah, it is." Okay, so now, and just because I need to know, you said Houston is like the fourth.
Well, it was back then. Back when I moved to Houston in the late '90s, during the end of the comedy boom. Houston was like the number 4 market in the country for stand-up. Because there were 5 full-time stand-up comedy clubs in Houston, and each one had 7 to 10 shows a week. Wow. So you would like opening acts could come to Houston and stay here for 3 or 4 weeks in a row working the different clubs. Headliners weren't allowed to because you didn't want to have competing sales.
Right.
So a lot of comics, while they were coming up, would just be hanging out in Houston, and they ended up being the headliners you see now,
wow.
It's actually a great Mitch Hedberg, Brian Regan thing when I was opening for both of them on that same week, which was Wednesday night. We didn't even sell out. Wednesday night, there's it's me, Mitch Hedberg, Brian Regan, and there's seats available,
Wow.
Yeah.
Like that's and the show was just ridiculous. But Mitch was doing this joke about long hair. He said, "I wish long hair wasn't associated with drug use. I wish it was associated with something more innocent, like an extreme longing for cake." Right. and he would say your girlfriend's mom would be like, "Don't bring him over here. I could tell he's a cake eater." So Mitch was doing that joke. Brian would go up and open with, "I had kind of a rough day. I got to the dressing room and somebody had eaten all the cake."
I was gonna say,
and it was so great to hear Brian open with a tag of a Mitch Hedberg joke,
Yeah.
And there were only
here I am. I'm eating my cake.
Only 6 audiences got to experience that, and I was there for all of them, all of those shows, So I've been in the middle of some historic things. But that night that we taped that Mitch's first album, that was. Like, if you'd have seen our setup, you would not think, "Oh, these guys are going to make one of the most iconic modern comedy albums of all time tonight."
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
And we did. I looked at the listing the other day because some guy that's making a documentary about Mitch wanted to know if I had some stuff. And I found the listing, we'd put stuff in the back of the newspaper, the flyer listings for the comedy clubs. That's how we did it back then. And the flyer listing that night, it said come get your crazy on, or come for some craziness, where Mitch Hedberg and his gang of freaks tape their first comedy album, right? And it doesn't even look like, it looks like oh, this must be like the staff of the club, It doesn't even look like there's a legitimate act. And then Mitch and Chuck did that for an hour, and and we're lucky because it was literally just a guy that you gave $100 to, hopefully he knows how to record.
Oh God.
Hopefully he's good at audio.
I'll figure it out, dude. No problem.
But all the planets lined up that night for sure.
Yeah.
Wow.
So here you are, you're working in Houston, right? You're working the comedy circuit, you're doing really well.
Yes.
And then your manager gives you a call and asks you something pretty incredible.
Yes. You're talking about how I ended up working for on the Cher tour.
Wait, you worked for Cher?
I did.
Okay, that was one of my next.
I didn't know what Andy was.
I'm looking at my notes here.
I don't know. Yeah, no. What happened is actually, and it starts with, and I want to tell the beginning of this story because I sort of pointed it out on a local comics group because there was, like anybody, we have these local message boards for stand up where it's just the comics are in there, right. And I'm checking it out because I'm home, and I'm off all month, and it's one of the chances I have to kind of go out and visit the locals. And there was somebody that needed a clean opener to do 10 minutes and they could only give him $50. And that's not a lot of money when you're asking a comic to work clean, but they posted it and I'm sure they got good. But then there's some other comics that there was like vitriol, like, why would you even post this here? What's wrong with you? That's insulting, whatever. So I had to post. Here's how it started. I got a call from my manager at the time, who was the guy that ran the Laugh Stop, Mark Babbitt. And he said, hey, I need you to do 15 minutes clean, squeaky clean. There's going to be kids in the audience. And it pays $150. And it's on a Thursday. I go, yeah, I could do it. He goes, okay, because you're like the sixth person that I've called. And the other 5 comics like, yeah, that's not enough money for kids in the audience for clean. That's not enough money, you know? And it was to open for Wayne Brady's improv tour. He did a tour in theaters for all ages where they did improv comedy. And they use local clean comics to MC because Wayne Brady's a cool guy like that. He doesn't want to come to town and not have a local on the show. I took that gig, and that all ages audiences are kind of my lane. That's what I'm good at.
Right.
And
and that's what I love about all your stuff.
I did exceptionally well that night. I did so well that the Live Nation Clear Channel people who promoted all the concerts back then got me on their radar. So flash forward, maybe 6 months later, I did 4 shows opening for the Righteous Brothers, which was weird to think that I'm connected to somebody that's, from the 60s, and then that led to me I got called in the morning to see if I could be in Dallas that night to open for Cher, because Cyndi Lauper was opening for Cher, and Cyndi Lauper had gone off the stage and sprained her ankle so bad that she needed to be off her feet for 3 days.
Wow.
And Cher had a tradition, old school, of using stand-ups to open for her. Sonny and Cher use stand-ups, and she knows it's easy. Just set up a mic, let them go. And it was just supposed to be a one-off thing. And I flew to Dallas, and I didn't even know if I was going to go on by the time I got there. They said, if you just get here, we'll pick you up, we'll pay you, you get to see the show, whatever.
Right.
And then I get there, and they're like, oh, yeah, you can go on. And then my wife goes straight to the airport, flies to Dallas. It's like a 45-minute flight from Houston.
Right.
And she gets there right before I go on. And I went up, and it was like 15,000 people. And it was, if I had a week to think about it, I probably would have had a really horrible set. But I had 0 time to prepare. So my only choice was to just do the set that I've been doing, So that's what I did. Yeah. And it happened to be very appropriate for that audience, to the point where they asked my wife and I to stay with them to do Austin the next day. And then they overpaid me and they sent me home. And then it was 3 months later, they called me and they said, we need you to clear your schedule for the next year.
Oh my!
And I ended up being on tour with Cher for 3 years. Yeah.
So
wow, 3 years, dude.
But initially, he was supposed to split dates with Dom Herrera and Louis Anderson, right?
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was a good list to be on.
Yeah, Tommy's going to do a set number of dates. Dom's going to do a set number of dates, and Louis going to do a set number of dates. I think Louis ended up getting like a sitcom or something.
Yeah, right? Louis actually got something that paid better than that, and I can't imagine a gig paying better than that, actually, because that's been my career. But and Dom is a genius comic, by the way.
Yeah, he is.
But he was not going to make any concessions. Dom also just went up and did what he was doing in the clubs. And what he was doing in the clubs was not appropriate for Cher's current audience.
Yeah.
So they
pushed some buttons.
They didn't like him, but he still did some of the shows, and the shows that he did, he destroyed, but they ended up giving me some of Dom's shows and giving me some of Louis Anderson's shows, which was cool.
Okay. Well, and now we got a question here, and Corey, our little wedlock boy here, brought up a good point, which I know I've crossed, and it's is it that hard to not be dirty or vulgar or cuss when you're doing comedy?
If you're
I have an answer, but
if you're asking me, no, it's not hard to not be vulgar.
Right.
It's not hard, but stand-up comedy is so much harder to do well than people think.
Right. Yeah.
So you put any restriction on the comic, it is just as, when I show up at a gig and they say, no swearing, that's just as difficult for me as if they said, don't do any bits about buses. I just say, okay, I won't do the bus story. That's fine.
Yeah, you're like, well, there goes half my routine right there.
I do swear on stage, and I do, but most of the shows that I do and most of the money that I make is working clean, corporate.
Yeah.
But yeah, as a stand-up, because stand-up's hard, any sort of censorship when you're trying to be original can put a real damper on you. So it's usually younger comics they come up with other reasons why they don't want to work clean, as opposed anything to keep from working on your act during the day,
Yeah.
Like all most of the comics I know that need to do well on a clean show, all they need is to sit down for about 2 hours and rewrite their bits and rehearse out loud. But that's a lot of work, and a lot of comics get into this business because they think they don't have to work. So
yeah,
if you have work ethic is the secret,
Right.
Talent only gets you so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing too, I think, like you said, you have a tendency to cuss sometimes or whatever. And I mean, that happens. It's like this show. I tell people, you know what? I mean, I'm a Christian man. I try to keep it PG-13 because even I will drop an F-bomb or something like that.
Right.
Or get a little lewd, whatever. I mean, unfortunately, it's part of our nature, but sometimes there's some comedic gold in that stuff that, if you just kind of go to the edge and then bring it back, it's all there,
Yeah, and there are some bits that are only going to work well with a dirty word in there or with some graphic imagery in there, right? And it's just you just can't be married to any one bit or any one topic,
Right.
You have to sort of diversify your writing, and clean comedy and I don't even know. This is more of a debate, but clean comedy and Christian comedy are like two different branches of the same thing. And I've done a lot of Christian comedy, but I don't like being labeled as a Christian comic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind doing a show for a church group when they say, oh, we want it to be Christian clean. That doesn't bother me at all.
Right.
But I'd much rather just be on a comedy show that's in a nightclub where everybody sort of underground knows that it's going to be clean.
Yeah, and it's just fun. You're just up there having a good time.
I don't even like seeing clean comedy on the marquee, but I like when you drive up to a theater and you see Jim Gaffigan, you're like, oh, it's probably going to be a clean show. Cool.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's probably going to drop a word here or there, but it's for the most part, it's a good fun. Just I'm not going to say wholesome because some of the stuff that's covered is not very wholesome.
No,
but
not at all. And that's the other thing, man. You could be offensive without using bad words.
Right.
And it's easy to be offensive without using bad words,
Here we go, right here. I mean, you're talking to a guy who got kicked off a radio station for making a Bud Light commercial incestuous. So, and really, we're hinting at the fact.
But without incest, Bud Light, they lose like half their audience without incest.
Well, they tend to pass out after a while. That's what makes it easier. That is, I mean, seriously, and anybody who has not seen Tommy do his stand-up, you just, the comedic genius of it all, really, I mean, you're constantly on a roll, and I know, some of this stuff you're just kind of rolling with. I know you've got most comics have the way they're going to do their show. Like you said, you've got stuff written out in your head, but I know you're improv in some stuff. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, a little bit. One of the faults I had earlier in my career was I would be a little bit over rehearsed sometimes, and you don't want the audience to ever notice that you're rehearsed when you're a stand-up. You want them to think that it's coming off the top of your head. Some bits, some extended rants and things, you can show a little bit of rehearsal to the audience and they respect it. But yeah, there's a little bit of improvisation. But for the most part, the audiences I do now on cruise ships or corporate audiences,
right?
They're really attentive and they really want to hear what I planned for them,
Right.
So it's almost like why would I ruin that by trying to talk to somebody in the audience,
Right.
Now I'll tell you what I do is I will look around the room. I do. I said do. I will look around the room in every venue that I'm in, and I will make notes and references to the pattern on the rug, to the chairs, to the decor, to the way that people are sitting, to the way that they're facing, to how the mic works, how the sound works, just so the audience knows that I'm not a recording.
Sure. Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's why, it's why AC/DC, it's why the singer would sing "Hello Cleveland" because they thought he was lip syncing,
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
No. AC/DC does not lip sync.
Right. So I do the same thing. I try to. So my improvisation is like, what's with this backdrop? That's my
and it's funny too because I've seen Tommy do bits in different states, and he, there is a little bit of geolocation to some of your bits, right?
There is.
Yeah, which was really good. I mean,
if you turn off the location, the bit might not work. So you have to
exactly right. Yeah. So and that for me too, because I was there your first time at Tommy T's in San Ramon when you did your first sort of extended bit, and it was really smart. It was a little too smart.
Yeah, it was over rehearsed.
You overshot your audience.
It was too smart, and it was
but then and I remember I think it was like maybe a year or 2 years later that I saw you, and I'm just like, holy crap, he figured it out.
Yeah, there's a quick
like he got it.
There was a quick learning curve back then because 2 years represented like 700 performances for me,
right?
Because I was almost to that every night mode pretty quick. And when you do it that much, you figure it out. It's editing,
right?
Writing is editing.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely. And you learn to quickly adjust and read your audience.
Yeah. Now, and I think I have this
audio.
Tommy's.
Is my audio back?
No, he's still there.
There it is.
He's still there.
No,
he remember he was frozen.
No, I was going to say I'm impressed with you guys on radio because sometimes you'll develop a bit and that's it. It's dead. You just did it. It's over.
Right.
Yeah. I will do a bit 1,000 times before I get it right. And then once I get it right, I'll do it another 1,000 times before I record it.
Yeah.
So you guys sometimes you nail it on the first try, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's not my skill set.
Yeah. Well, and that was one of the things I wanted to allude to, especially like doing corporate gigs, which I know can be like just mind-sucking death, because I've done a couple with an improv troupe.
Oh yeah.
And I was more the stand-up kind of guy where I just kind of go up there and feed off the audience, and oh good. I mean, it's it was like being in a morgue, and you're just like, and you just feel them sucking all your energy out, and you're just like, I'm going to die right here on stage, and nobody will ever know because they're all dead too. And I mean, have you had that where like on a corporate gig or something like that? Or
I've had bad ones, absolutely, because I've done so many of them. But corporate gigs have become like the stuff that other comics don't want to do has kind of become my bread and butter. So I feel like I excel at corporate gigs now, and I do really well with all ages audiences, which is
right.
And there's a lot of experts on stand-up that say you should never do stand-up for all ages live. They say it's a bad idea. I disagree, but I like that it exists, and that other comics that have as much experience as me don't want to do it because I get to do all that work,
Right.
And I feel the same about corporate shows, and I feel like I've gotten to do some corporate shows towards the end of the pandemic with some young local comics. And it was interesting to watch them open for me and realize that they had never seen anybody do well in this environment, and I could tell by the way that they were performing, they were just kind of get through this and we'll get our money and we'll go. And then I got up there, and I remember that after that ride, my buddy, Ben Daniel, who was opening for me on that show, was like, it opened my eyes the way you brought them around. I didn't think that these people would ever be a comedy audience,
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, you gotta be patient. You gotta stick to your guns. The hard part about corporate shows is one lady in human resources really likes stand-up comedy.
Right.
And she's making everybody else sit through a comedy show before they get their bonus check, It's
right.
That's tough, man, when everybody doesn't want to be at a comedy show,
especially Jim in accounting, because Jim's just about the numbers, baby.
This is my classic. I'm proud of this. This is my classic corporate show opening for like a corporate holiday party, and say I'm doing it for a company that doesn't exist anymore. I used to do holiday shows for Enron, right?
Oh, wow.
And yeah, it was tough when they shut down. Lost a lot of gigs. But I get on stage and I go, hey, raise your hand if you're just here as a date or as a +1, raise your hand. I said, give those people a round of applause because they don't want to be here with you and your work friends.
They're here for the free drinks and food.
But it's a good opening because it kind of sums up the whole situation, and once people get past that, they might be able to enjoy the comedy show.
Right, you just broke the ice with that right there. They're just like, oh, okay, so he gets it.
But the reason why, especially doing improv at a corporate show, was so difficult is because your entire audience already has relationships with each other,
right?
And they already have relationships that have like a pecking order. Like it's right. That is a complicated audience. Improv works great if the audience doesn't know each other.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But you're on stage pointing at somebody saying, "What's your name?" And you say, "Kevin," and they say, "No, Karen," because everybody knows that person's name, but you. Right. So why are you the one on stage entertaining? It's like you guys should be up here roasting each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. Now, okay, and this is kind of alluding back to a point you were talking about earlier. Your all ages aspect. Now, are you still doing the cruise ships, or are
I am. I'm going back on Carnival. I'll be on the Carnival Pride at the end of January and the Carnival Mardi Gras for the month of February.
And that's awesome. I mean, I remember being as a young kid, we went on a cruise into the Caribbean, which, it was the Caribbean was really cool for me, because I was like, okay, whatever, we go to these places. But I loved being on the boat because I got to see shows. And I got to see, I saw comedians, I saw music, the dancing. My sister's all whatever.
But you probably got to see a band with a horn section. You probably got to see live showgirls and dancers, and
I saw some showgirls. I'm telling you.
But it's a neat thing because
that Kristian.
Well, it was I think it was one of the princess maybe. I don't know. I was younger. Met a girl. It was disco was big.
Oh yeah, the disco. So, they call it the nightclub now. So
yeah. It's been a while. They call it anything but the disco. But back in my day, it was the disco, man.
He was on a princess ship called the Santa Maria.
The captain was horrible. It was Columbus. There's only Russians for 5 now.
The captains are still Italian on the ships that I work.
Right.
They really are. Every captain of a ship that I work now is Italian. Yeah, but Carnival,
there's no Captain Stubing.
Carnival, we have this Punchliner Comedy Club brand, and I was there working for Carnival before they even had the brand, and now it's the biggest comedy club chain on the planet. They do more shows with a bigger budget than any other comedy club chain. And the ship I work in February, the Mardi Gras, this is not an exaggeration. On a 7-day cruise, there are 57 live 30-minute stand-up performances over 7 days.
Oh wow
57 dude. And if you're really into comedy and you want to see every show that's different, you could watch 32 to 36 completely different half-hour sets on your cruise. If you wanted to just go on a cruise to watch comedy, it's like being at a comedy festival. Yeah. And when I started working for Carnival, if you went on a 7-day cruise, you'd get to see 2 comedy shows. Right. So it's kind of like the comedy boom that I started in on land. We're sort of at the golden age here at sea. Now, COVID really put a damper on that for a while, but the ships are back now. And it's like, I want to work as much as I can. And I'm probably going to be on ships most of the time next year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and like all the comedy clubs, it was like all of a sudden, the floodgates opened and like you're seeing all sorts of comedy shows just everywhere now. And I mean, it's great because, yeah, I know it's the 2-drink minimum thing or whatever, but dude, you never know when you get to walk in and, you see somebody like you who just works a room and you can get anybody and everybody laughing. I mean, seriously, dude, I know I can just tell by your style of comedy. Once you're up there, it's like, it's just flowing, and you're one of those guys that can read the room, and you can pull anybody into a laughing fit. And I mean, you just see that in all your comic stuff, and it's just genius. It's great. It really is. I love comics like you that can just, it doesn't matter what you're talking about. You're gonna make it funny. You're gonna make everybody entertaining. It's gonna be a comfortable, fun time, and it's great. And I love it.
Yeah. Thanks. Oh, Patsy. Yeah, he does pretty well.
Yeah. Actually, as an example, I was honored. I got invited by Armed Forces Entertainment to do a 3-week tour of Europe to perform for our troops deployed. Right. And really cool, really rewarding tour. I was gone for 18 days, and I was with 2 other comics that have been doing comedy longer than I have. It's 3 headliners on this tour. And we had a good time, but we made a sacrifice to do it because we were making about a third as what we would have made working cruise ships.
Oh, gotcha.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. So, So it's still the Armed Forces Entertainment. They're still paying fair, but cruise ships just pay so much better.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah. But I mean, dude, the service you're doing for those guys over there, that's just awesome. And that's so fantastic that you're going over there and keeping everybody entertained, keeping up their spirits. That's huge, man. That's anybody who does that kind of stuff. I always thought it was kind of hokey. Like, you'd see the WWE go over there and do one of their shows live and stuff. But man, those guys are all far away from their homes. And just to help lighten up their day, it's like doing this show. If I can make a few people happy for the day, it gets me, it just makes you that much better, or feel that much better.
Oh yeah.
And that's just awesome that you do that. Those guys are stationed where they're in crappy conditions and whatnot, and to go over and help them out. That's awesome.
We did a show in Lithuania, and we had to like turn off the GPS on our phones. Like we're not allowed for them to know where we're going.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So they pick us up in a van, they drive us out escorted, and it keeps getting like rougher and rougher, and kind of we're in the woods now. Okay. And then we walk out in the mud, and there's a bunch of stacked shipping containers and a tent. And it's this base that we have in Lithuania that we deploy our soldiers to because it's very close to the Russian border.
Oh, right.
And the Russians have troops on the border, so we're trying to match them.
Oh, geez.
So we were in their dining facility tents, and they were all kids because nobody with any experience gets sent on this deployment. Right.
Right. Yeah.
This is like let's see if you've got what it takes.
It's not the dream job, right?
Yeah. So, when I wore the shoes that I brought were way too nice to walk through the mud, and I'm performing like 3 feet from the big box of Pop-Tarts that arrived today.
Yeah.
And these guys are living in shipping containers, and they're going, oh, we're so glad we got those because we're out of the tents now. They were living in tents till a month ago.
Oh,
and now they're living in shipping containers, So you talk about a crowd that's appreciative.
Yeah,
sure. The show.
And kind of a captive audience.
Yeah, they're captives because there's nothing else going on there. They're like, whatever you do there, they're going to come out and participate and be nice about it. But they were really, and it was funny because they were so young at the beginning of the show. I think they weren't sure how they were supposed to respond.
Sure.
Or if they were allowed to talk, But
right.
Once they loosened up and they realized, oh, okay, no, this is just a comedy show, and at this base, there's no alcohol.
Right.
So it's not like they're having a beer and watching the show. It's like, where we go to get soup. They're having a comedy show there,
Right. Yeah.
Sir, permission to laugh, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then at the other end of that, we did a base in Kosovo that's been there for 20 years. That's pretty well established, called Bond Steel. Hang on, I think I have this here. I'm really proud of this. Let me see if I can get it.
Be careful, for God's sake.
Hang in there. I know. God, yeah.
That's all we need on this show is,
I left. No, Bond Steel. This is the flag that flew over Bond Steel the night we did our show. And they presented it to me. At the end of the show, they presented it to me. And I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Dude, that is freaking cool.
Okay, did the other comics that you were with get these?
No, nobody else got a flag. I was the only got a flag. But no, the other comics got different.
Those other comics
they got different awards.
Okay,
right? But this show. But when I was flying home from Europe, I thought about just wearing dark sunglasses and carrying this. Like,
oh sure, yeah.
Just so nobody would mess with me.
Oh man.
But yeah, I had to make room in my luggage to bring this home. So this is like my prized possession now and that's from Camp Bondsteel in Kosovo. And that was like a well-established sort of mature base. And they were a fun show.
Okay.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
cool, man.
And we're actually the show's actually kind of big overseas right now too, so that's cool.
Oh, cool.
Huge in France. Yeah, huge in France right now.
Well, dude. Greetings to everybody in France.
Let's just
bonjour.
I can tell you. I'm pretty sure we had Lithuania. Hold on, I'm just double checking because now I want to double. Bangladesh, New Zealand, Russia. Hey, we're in Russia. Albania. Well, I guess we dropped out of Lithuania. They were in there for a while though. But anyway, yeah, France were huge in Italy and the United Kingdom and Ireland and Germany.
We're gonna shoot back in Lithuania with a bullet after this one airs. That's for sure.
And Bangladesh for some reason.
Actually, while my buddy Tom Foss was doing the show in the tent in Lithuania, they were actually doing tank maneuvers, and there were tank mortars going off.
Oh man,
shaking the tent during his set.
God.
And it was hysterical because the look of fear on our face is real. And these kids deal with this. They deal with this every day. So they're just laughing at us.
They're just like, whatever, man.
And Tom actually got underneath a table and continued telling his jokes under a table.
God.
Oh my God.
Talk about bombing during a show, man.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah.
Put on
hey,
I'm going to be here all night. Tip your bartenders and waitresses.
Yeah. Oh God.
Now, and how unnerving is it that you were up on the front lines really with the wet behind the ears guys? Like you're like, if something goes down, are you going to be able to pull the trigger and get something protect my ass? Or
they are wet behind the ears socially.
Yeah,
but I totally trust these guys as soldiers and girls as soldiers. Like, you could see, like, everybody, even though it's fucking COVID restrictions. Oh, see, I swore. I just swore on your show. I can't believe that.
Holy crap!
The pills must be
son
kicking
of a
in.
bitch.
Yeah.
Even though there's COVID restrictions, after you do shows on military bases, most of the young people want to give you a hug or shake your hand.
Oh, yeah.
And even the ones that didn't look fit, like they shake your hand or you pat their shoulder, you're like, these people are all ripped.
Yeah.
Like they are all super fit. They're all, they all have their stuff together. They just have never been on a date, know?
Yeah.
But they are top of the line soldiers. No question about that.
Yeah. They like those soldiers to have that kind of angst. They're like, listen, man, I'm going to get laid in a week.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And they're taking people out and, well, as long as we're protected and he's going to get laid in a week, I'm cool. So that's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye or head. But as long as it's on the other side, I guess we're safe. So.
I think we determined earlier if you have another eye, it's not that big a deal.
Right. Yeah.
That's true.
Right.
So
Redundant
again, pirate. Just saying.
Exactly.
It's something to aspire to. That was when I first met my wife, her question to me was, well, what's your 5-year plan? Well, I'd like to be a pirate. And she still married me. Tommy, she still married me. It was awesome.
I love that.
Yes. She may deny it to this day, but yeah. Or that she's married to me. I'm not sure.
I want to say it's Josh Sneed. He has a joke that I was so jealous of. I think it's Josh. I hope it's Josh. If it's not, somebody will correct you. But he said, I told my boy he could be whatever he wants to be when he grows up. And he said, I want to be a fire truck.
No.
Because I realized I was not equipped to be a parent.
But if you encourage him to drink a lot of water and walk around with your wiener out and putting out fires, go do it, boy.
Oh.
Such
and here's some flow.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm going to be a pirate.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. And this is what I told her. I said, first off, you live on a boat. You're on a remote island somewhere. You steal from the rich to survive. Anything you need, you just go and get. You don't have to worry about it.
Oh, see what I would get,
and the eye patch.
If you and I, Kristian, were delving into a relationship, and I asked you, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And you said, I want to be a pirate. I would say, so ask a stupid question, get a stupid answer. Is that how we're going to do this? Because that's kind of the feeling I get, right? It's like, what are you talking about? Weren't we just figuring out where to go to dinner?
I was going to say, oddly enough, that happens still to this day over the dinner table. So what'd you do today? Really want to know? No. No, we're good. Seriously, I'm fine. Just eat. This food's delicious, by the way. Thank you, Mrs. Madsen, for the yummy food. I'm going to go bathroom now. Wow. Okay, so yes, you just did the USL. Oh, you do comedy writing, correct?
I do some writing, yes, absolutely.
And you won an Emmy.
No, I did not win an Emmy. I was one of 8 people that were nominated for an Emmy.
Oh, my apologies.
For one of Jeff Dunham's specials.
Yeah. Yes.
And I got a call.
I mean, it's genius.
I got a call from my manager saying, you were nominated for an Emmy. I have a certificate for you, and we're not going to win. So I wouldn't recommend it.
Oh, dude.
So just stay where you're at, but just so you
know.
Yeah,
but I met and a lot of comics aren't big fans of what Jeff Dunham does. I'm a big fan because he's he's really good at animating his puppets. His puppets have full personalities. That's really hard to do, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But he's a legitimately funny guy, and he and I hit it off when I was opening for him. I was actually the feature act at that point, so we would show up in town together. There'd be a local opening for us. And he asked me, he was coming up with some new puppets, and he asked me to write some jokes for the new puppets. And I was there the night that he brought out Ahmed, the dead terrorist.
Oh,
nice. But the night that he brought it out, he introduced him as a dead Osama bin Laden. Which was a weird thing at the time. It was before, Osama. It was before we got Osama. And the audience wasn't sure what to do with it, and Jeff wasn't sure what to do with it. So I wrote a bunch of bits for that, and I guess some of those ended up on his special.
Nice.
And that would have been whichever special he did that came out in 05 or 06.
Right.
Wasn't the Spark of Insanity?
It might have been Spark of Insanity. It was the one that had a lot of Ahmed on there.
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
Well, that became a big bit for him. And he,
and Jeff's one of the richest club comics I know, because he's he gets residuals because people have his characters as their ringtones, for crying out loud.
Right. Oh yeah.
Like he's a big deal. But yeah, I was so honored when I was working with him that he's like, could you write me some jokes? I'm like, oh my God, this is my dream.
Yeah.
I really want to be writing for these puppets. This is great,
So now working with a ventriloquist, just out of curiosity, I mean, did he make other things talk around you and you're just like, dude, stop it. Okay, I get it. You're a ventriloquist. You're very funny, but the glass is not talking to me.
When we were working together, we had a rule in particular about walking through the airports.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, no. And Jeff's cool. Jeff can hang. But at the time, the way he did it is he would ship everything except the heads. The head is the most complicated thing with the ventriloquist dummy. And as long as he had the heads with him, we could go to Walmart and make the bodies if this shipment didn't show up, right?
Right.
So Jeff carried a duffel bag filled with heads through the airport.
Oh, no.
And we were in the airport in Dallas, and we're on the same flight, which only happened a couple times. And so we meet up with each other, and we're going through security, and I see that they're pulled aside the duffel head bag. So I wrap my stuff up and start to walk away just when he starts doing the voices.
Oh no! Yeah,
he catches up. He's like, "I'm sorry, I had to." I go, I understand. But he would never intentionally just like he wasn't that guy, which is good.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm pretty. Andy will tell you, I'm pretty quiet when I'm off stage. You know.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not that,
you can't be on all the time. I mean,
no.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, but
some comics
to
are.
a point. Yeah. But I mean, to a point, yeah, you have times where you want to chill and you want to relax, but there are other times when you're there and you're on with the rest. But then at that point, you got the room down and you're working the room with the rest of the family.
Right.
You know, well, I mean, that's.
And I mean, I can imagine like hanging with guys like Attell, because Attell seems like he's just always on, no matter what. I mean, he's constantly going. You can't say, you're like, dude, stop.
I'll tell you what, I get why he seems that way. He isn't. He is pretty normal off stage. He is relatively quick, but he seems a lot quicker than he is because he's an amazing editor.
Yeah.
He writes the joke, but then he takes out the words and there's this rhythm and cadence to his set.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his set is set up in a way that he gets there about a half beat before the audience does.
Yeah.
A lot of his jokes are predictable, but he knows how long it takes you to get there, and he beats you there. So he seems a lot quicker than he is, but just off stage, or like if you were interviewing him here,
right,
you would know if a good line was coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
With Attell, because he would quiet down for a little bit and wait, and you'd be like, okay, here it comes. But just casual conversation, he's not like, it's not brutal. He's not always hitting punchlines the way he is on stage, you know?
Yeah.
So I had one interaction with Attell when I worked for Clear Channel. One of the stations that I worked for put on a comedy jam, right? And Attell was there, right? And we had talked already about this, and I told you, I said, hey, I'm going to introduce myself as your brother.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And so I walk. He's just chilling in the tent backstage, and I walk up to him, and like I don't want to bug him for long, right? And I don't want to. I walk up to him. I really quick. I said, hey, Dave, my name's Andy. I'm Tommy Drake's brother. He looked at me. No, you're not. You don't look anything like him. And then that was it. You know. Yeah. And that was it. But he shook my hand. And he said, say hi to your brother for me, you know, and that was it. And that was, but it was, you know, one quick line that, you know, was great. It was classic. So,
yeah. And it moved you on your way.
No, totally it did.
Like, you look nothing like him.
Yeah. But,
you know, I think off the cuff or in conversation, Andy is a lot quicker than I am as far as coming up with punchlines, you know.
You're nice.
I'm more of a
see, right there.
I'm more of a writer and an editor, but Andy's really quick at coming up with punchlines.
Andy is quick, and I'm absolutely blessed that we actually got to meet, and he decided to join the show. He's been nothing but just a great compliment to what we do here. And,
I think it's cute, you old radio guys trying to figure out this new medium.
The old interweb kind of thing. I don't understand half the buttons, but that's why I got the young whippersnappers, Andy. And then Matt in the background, who's shaking his head. I didn't go full-born grumpy old man. Okay? Which, I mean, did you ever work with Dana Carvey at all or anything?
I got to meet Dana one time. I'm a huge Dana Carvey fan. Yeah. But I didn't get to work with him. We weren't on the same show, but I got to chat with him for a minute, you know?
Yeah. He's
another, Dana's another one of those guys that he is such a ridiculously skilled live stand-up performer now. And people have forgotten, right? You know, if you see Dana Carvey's doing a show at the Throckmorton or something, go, because you're seeing a guy that was, you know, one of the best comics in the country 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
And before he hit Saturday Night Live.
Yeah. And he's that much better, you know, and Dana Carvey sitting at a piano is one of the great live shows you can see.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Dude, I forgot about that. I like to do his grumpy old man bit and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Flippity flab back in my day. We didn't even have the interweb. We just had things that we yelled at each other, and our throats would get all bloody and sore, and we'd be coughing up blood, and nobody'd be listening to us. And we'd be like, hey, did you hear that? Sorry. Yeah. All right.
Once it starts, it doesn't stop.
When the first President Bush didn't get reelected, he invited Dana Carvey out to the White House. He said, he called Dana personally. He said, "My staff is a little down in the dumps." Those were the words he used. A little down in the dumps. We're stuck here for another 2 months. I was wondering if you could come out and cheer everybody up.
Oh,
and
wow.
Dana Carvey showed up at the White House dressed like President Bush.
Bringing it all together.
Did a 2-hour impression of him talking to his staff, explaining to his staff why he didn't need to get reelected because they had accomplished so much in 4 years that they didn't need to do this another 4 years. And
that's great.
This story is important now because imagine if Donald Trump invited the guy from Saturday Night Live who played him out to the White House.
Right.
You know, it's so it just shows you how much things have changed, you know?
Oh yeah.
You know,
Biden would probably do it, but he'd forget. So
he would.
I invited somebody. Pretty sure it was my mom.
Four different comics show up. We're double booked.
Right.
What happened?
Dana Carvey comes in. Hey, how you doing?
Oh man.
Well, no, Phil's not around anymore, but yeah, Phil Hartman would have been great too. Hey,
God,
how y'all doing? All right.
Yeah.
That's my impersonation of Phil Hartman doing Bill Clinton.
I got to hear Kevin Pollak and Jay Moore have a little debate about people doing impressions of other people's impressions.
Oh, right.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Because it happens, you know, like Dana Carvey came up with this George Bush character.
Right.
And then other people, that was their impression of Bush. And it wasn't an impression of Bush. It was an impression of Dana Carvey doing Bush. Yeah. And hearing these guys that are both skilled impressionists talking about it and saying, well, it's, it's hard to do a different accurate impression once the other one's out there. You know, you got to kind of refer to it.
Well, yeah. But see, and that's the thing too. And that's why I like doing impressions of people's impressions because that's what they're used to.
Exactly.
So you try to mimic them because everybody's, you know, you could like do a spot on, Sean Connery or something.
Right.
And everybody like, that's not Sean Connery.
Right.
And then you do,
Daryl Hammond. Yeah.
Or Daryl Hammond, Sean Connery. Yeah. And it's,
the day is mine, Trebek. And everyone's like, yeah, there it is. Yeah. That is not Sean Connery.
But the impression becomes the history, man. It's,
absolutely.
That becomes the character, you know?
Yeah.
There are quotes attributed to people that were written by comics doing impressions, you know?
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
And Passy says she loves Daryl Hammond doing Clinton.
Oh yeah.
That was brilliant.
That's why.
Yeah.
So now, okay. I have my notes over here.
So I wanted to bring up something too.
I'm kind of like Andy at the beginning of the show when he was, still paying attention to.
Hey, come on. Hey, but during the Cher years,
yes,
didn't you have the distinction of being the most viewed stand-up comedian during that time?
Yes, it was 2004, and it was Billboard magazine gave me that distinction. They said I was seen live by more people than any other stand-up comic on the planet.
Billboard, dude.
Yeah. Because we were the second highest grossing tour that year, behind the Rolling Stones. And we were there was no other comics doing big venue tours.
Right.
Yeah. So I had this amazing opportunity just kind of fall into my lap, basically because 5 other comics didn't want to do 15 minutes clean for $150, you know?
Right. Yeah.
You know, and then I'm in Billboard magazine, you know, seen live by more people than any other comic on the planet, you know.
But see, and that's how it all starts though. And it's grabbing the opportunity that's presented to you.
Yeah, you know, and it's and I had so many other opportunities that didn't take off because I wasn't ready or I didn't handle it right, or I have loads of those,
Right.
So but a lot of times when you miss an opportunity, that's when you get your act together, so to speak. Yeah. And that's when you take advantage of the next one. Like a lot of my comic friends are experiencing this now with working on cruise ships. Like they went out before and they really weren't able to make it work.
Yeah.
But they have an opportunity to go back again because the cruise industry is different now. You can't fly in and fly out of foreign ports. You have to stay out a little longer. It's a little bit less money per day. So it's an opportunity for new people to get in.
Yeah.
And they have a completely different attitude now than they did.
Sure.
You know,
like,
I've seen comics that I never thought would work with like note cards and tape in their room, putting stuff on the walls, rehearsing out loud. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So I think with what COVID did to the industry is gonna make for some really good, probably comedy albums and specials in about a year or two, because a lot of comics found their work ethic again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like, I mean, you look at guys like Jim Brewer.
Oh,
he's just busted out there, and he's like, I'm going to perform anywhere I can. You know, and I mean, he's flat out telling people, he's like, no, I don't care what their COVID standards are. I'm coming in there. You don't need this. And, and then if they say, well, too bad, then he's like, you know what, screw you, I ain't going to play there. And he'll go down the street or something and go play some little venue. You know, I mean, he's flat out said that he's like, no, I canceled the show, but you know what? I'm going over here. And so
doing a show in your parking lot.
Yeah. He don't care, man. He's real about it. And it's
Brewer's another hidden gem. If you get to see him live, he's
oh my God.
He's a much higher level stand-up than people think, you know.
Yeah.
You
know, everybody's like, oh, he's just this stoner.
Also, you know, I want to say that some of it is publicity stunt. You know, some of him getting his name in the news is publicity stunt. You know, And I got baited a couple times online, and luckily I didn't fall for it. But during the pandemic, I'm in Houston. There's a bunch of bars and nightclubs that have back porches with stages for music, and they were allowed to be open because they serve food. So we were doing comedy shows on back porches outdoors. People socially distanced, wearing masks. But because, you know, most of the gigs I do now are on cruise ships or corporate shows, I don't know how to promote myself online. So these young local comics will book me and they're like, oh, you know, we're playing Dave's Barbecue. You got to share this online. So I share it online, and then I get a private message from somebody saying, how dare you risk everybody's life so you could do stand-up? I'm like, okay, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know what to say. You know, I'm like,
it's your choice whether you want to go there or not. You know? Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Well, and my name has never sold tickets. How can I be responsible for my name has never sold? I am not a draw. How am I responsible for anybody?
I'm not on the marquee.
Right. And that,
so as a joke, some of the local guys made a show that said stand-up comedy with stand-up comedians. You know, none of our names were out there, you know, real live comedy. And we're like, that way they won't pick on us. You know?
This is the safest venue ever. And then you get there and there's just a mic with a tape recording. And
Oh yeah.
So speaking of doing comedy in weird places, okay. After the Cher tour, you got together with your buddies John Wessling and Chuck Savage, the guy who played bass with Mitch Hedberg, and did Hell Gig America, which was 50 gigs in 50 states in 50 days.
In 50 days.
Yes.
Yep.
And we did it, and it was in 2005, and which was a real sort of in between technological time.
Yeah.
Right.
To do a tour like that. You know, we didn't have like internet access over the phone in the car. We didn't have, you know, we had to charge our camera batteries. We didn't have, you know, everywhere we went didn't have Wi-Fi, you know?
Right.
It was like that. And we weren't sure how to interact online. So Andy sort of ran our website for us and was kind of our point person at home whenever something was going wrong on that tour. And a lot of things went wrong. There were a lot of times where I didn't think we were going to make it to all 50 states in 50 days. And I didn't think we were going to have all the shows. And about halfway through, we still didn't have a show in Hawaii, I think it was.
Right.
And even after we got that show, we still needed to be able to get from Oregon or from Washington to Alaska to Hawaii.
Right.
And I did my best with what I knew about the internet to try to get us these things, and I couldn't do it. But Andy and my other brother Dan, I guess, got real nerdy and managed to save the tour.
Andy, nerdy,
managed to save the tour because Andy knew how to navigate the new internet. You know.
So back then, airline tickets, the airline online system wasn't smart enough to integrate with the analog systems at the terminals,
at the
right?
airports. Yeah, right.
So you had a bank of tickets that were just for online sales, and then the regular bank of tickets that anybody could call in and say,
get.
"Hey, I need 2 tickets to Anchorage and then 2 tickets straight to Honolulu to get us where we need to go by the time we need to get there," right?
Right.
So anyway, yeah, Tommy, I think they're driving up from California to Oregon at this point, and this is. Yeah, I mean, literally, they're on the road to show 40 or 47.
Yeah, we have 2 days to get these flights booked, and I think that there are no flights.
Yeah,
and I'm considering looking for a private pilot at this point. I'm actually considering that. I was a pretty high roller back then. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm on my McDonald's cell phone, right? That I got, from something, and so Tommy.
Meal.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the flip phone, right? So that is his main cell phone, by the way. Like that's
I was gonna say, you and my dad have a whole lot in common right there.
That's right. We could have a conversation via text.
Oh no, we gave him a smartphone.
No, that's how I'd be.
Yeah.
So I'm in Memphis right now. I'm not living in Memphis. I'm actually visiting my oldest brother, Lieutenant Dan, in Memphis, right? Because Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith had come out. And Danny and I wanted to watch the end together.
They have to see it together. We had
to see it together because we had to watch it at the same time because we had to discuss everything, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So Tommy calls me and he's like, "Hey, I can't find tickets." And immediately I have my laptop with me. I go online, and within 10 minutes, I've booked all of them on the flight where they need to go, right? And he's just like, "Well, how did you?" It's like, well, and this is, I just went online. It's obviously they're here. And then I learned later that the systems weren't smart enough back then.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and manipulate it.
I always imagined that Andy was in like a stormtrooper outfit with the helmet off, and that Dan was dressed like Slave Leia. I always imagined that, just over the shoulder. I just imagined that there was a cosplay aspect.
I was gonna say full-on cosplay going on, and Andy's over there. Yeah, it's okay, sir.
But it was a cool thing. The tragic thing about that tour, and that tour ended up being a little bit cursed. Like, I'm glad I did it, but a lot of our guests on that tour have died.
Yeah.
Like way more than should have. But one of them, about a week before we left, that's when Mitch Hedberg died. It was last day of March, April 1st, basically, is when everybody found out Mitch was dead. 2005. April 8th is when we left on this tour. And Mitch was supposed to be our special guest on our show in Minneapolis, which was like show number 24 on the tour.
Wow.
And we still did that show. We got to actually went over to Mitch's house and got to sit with his parents on the back porch and chat with them. But their son had just died.
Right.
Yeah.
But it made the tour really interesting because a bunch of people were just discovering who Mitch was.
Right.
A lot of college age kids, and they were figuring out how to use the internet.
Right.
And when they'd search Mitch, they would find Chuck and they'd find our tour, and they would come to our shows on Hell Gig, and they wanted to talk to us about Mitch after the show,
Yeah.
So it was interesting. Yeah. And Ralphie May was a big part of that tour, and Ralphie has passed. Sean Rouse, who I mentioned earlier, was a big part of that tour, and Sean's died. And there's another, I had the list, I don't know, but yeah, it was a neat experience. We actually performed in all 50 states in 50 days. We actually
that is a hellacious.
And they filmed it in hopes to release it as some sort of documentary, right? And you did show it at a festival, right?
We got to show it at Montreal just for laughs. And
that's
I was going to say it said you showed it somewhere.
Our Hell Gig, our festival cut for Hell Gig debuted on Friday in Montreal, and on Saturday was when the Aristocrats debuted. In Montreal.
Yeah.
So the Aristocrats got all the attention, of course.
Right.
But because that was happening at our debut, like Sarah Silverman and Doug Stanhope and Penn Jillette, all these people were at our debut, which was cool.
Yeah.
To have them there because they were there for the next night. They wanted to see what else was going on. But I still have these, I guess, 200 hours of footage and
Oh, wow.
I went through some of it recently with Chuck because we were looking for some old clips of Mitch, and who knows if something there might still be a full, a re-edit of that.
Oh, sure. God, I would think you've got something for Netflix right there, man.
I have awesome. I have a lot of hidden sets from comics who are now dead. Carl LeBove, there's a great set of Carl LeBove who's now dead on that tour, and Carl was best friends with Sam Kinison. That's Carl LeBove's spot, and and then there's the Mitch Hedberg connection and the Ralphie May thing, and there's there's a lot going on in this tour, and some of our footage might be being used for another documentary, and I'll let you guys. I'll let you guys know if that happens. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll let you know for sure.
Definitely.
That'll be exciting. But
well, you heard it here first.
Yeah, but we've given permission, and so yeah, it's weird. I have some valuable footage, and I'm glad that we did it. And who knows if it'll turn into anything? But we were Andy will tell you, we were oddly ahead of our time.
Yeah.
Right.
Doing it.
I was going to say that was kind of unheard of
because like a year, wasn't it like a year later, Dane Cook did like Tourgasm, which was like 20 states in 30 days or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's when they started doing it. It was actually towards the end of ours is when they started theirs.
Okay, right.
We actually ran into them on tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I know Gary and Dane pretty well. But
okay, yeah.
But
I just thought it was funny. Some of the footage that I saw was literally like you yelling over, there was you and John yelling over the.
In Greenville, North Carolina, it was just these college kids, like, like I don't even know what this venue's for. It's like where you drink before you go into the other room to dance, basically.
Right.
Oh wow.
So it's like you're not allowed to bring drinks in there, but while you're out here, we have a comedy show. So it was just like us yelling over people. Yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah. And then the old folks home too.
Oh yeah.
That was such a great. I mean, like it was.
Good Lord.
We had to do shows on Monday and Tuesday. We had to do shows on
right. Yeah, you had to grab it wherever you could.
In Delaware on a Tuesday, we did a show for the Rotary Club.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And the second vice president of Rotary, or the guy that was going to be president in 2 years, followed us to the parking lot and invited us to his house to do bong hits in the garage.
From the Rotary Club.
And we're like, we didn't think this is the one night where we didn't think that would happen.
Right. Yeah.
And,
that's great.
But when I say we were ahead of our time, it's like if I did this now, like people would be following us every minute of every day. And we'd be connected, and we'd be blogging. I mean, like I kept an online journal. During this tour. And the reason why I kept an online journal during this tour was because the word blog didn't exist yet.
Right.
Absolutely. So we were just a little ahead of our time with the whole internet and everything.
Well, and see, it's like
but it was still a great experience. I'm still glad we did it.
My radio partner, when we finally got kicked off the air finally, we both kind of split our ways. He went off and he got a hold of me like 5 years or so later. And he's like, hey man, I'm doing this thing. It's over the computer. It's called a podcast. Yeah. And I'm like, I've kind of heard about that. He's like, you got to get the equipment. You got to be able to join me. We got to do the show. And I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm just kind of done with the whole radio thing right now. It's, I think radio's on its way. He's like, this isn't radio. It's totally different. We can do whatever the fuck we want. And we can say fuck and we can do, he was just going on. And I'm like, okay, dude, that's great. And then he like blew up big time, doing his freaking podcast. And I'm like,
it's good timing, right? Right place, right time. And
yeah.
Absolutely.
And you just have bad instincts, Kristian.
I do. And if you had met my 2 ex-wives, you would see that very well.
Bad instincts, bad decision making. That's all.
Decision making. Of course, I was drinking a lot back then and kind of high. So I was really high.
I remember
really, really high.
This is kind of a name drop. This is another comic friend who's died, but a guy named Harris Whittles, who was a producer of I think Parks and Rec or Community, one of those shows. But very funny guy. He called me. I think it was in his 20s, and he called me and he's like, yeah, me and my sister have this, it's like an online radio show. And I'm like, okay. And I remember it was still like a year and a half before I heard the term podcast,
Yeah.
And I made the connection, but they were all over it, back
Right.
then. And I guess Stephanie Whittles has turned into a big podcaster, but yeah, I did not see it. I didn't have this microphone till the pandemic. I didn't think I needed it. I didn't think I needed this thing. But
see, and I do voiceover work, so.
Oh yeah, I've done a lot of voiceover, but I haven't done anything from home.
Well, and that's one of the things you've done a lot of like anime voices.
Yeah,
you've done a lot on just random little bits, and
I played.
and I'm trying to read
Street Fighter
notes.
I played the teacher. I played Mr. Cicada in Ghost Stories, and Ghost Stories is this weird internet famous thing that we just ignored the script. And Stephen Foster, who's a brilliant director, because Ghost Stories didn't do well in Japan. And they wanted to make an English-speaking version. So they sent us the animation and they said, just do whatever you can do to get people to watch it. So we did use everything they have and make it as weird and offbeat as you can. Have people look up Ghost Stories on YouTube, and you'll see some of these clips have like 3 million views. And people are like, this is so funny. When are they going to make more of this? And we didn't even know. I didn't know till I recorded Ghost Stories in 2006, I think. And I didn't know till 2 years ago that it had turned into a thing years later,
Yeah.
But it's sort of, it's a dub that makes fun of anime dubs.
Yeah. And now, one of the things I found interesting, because I was a huge fan of the game, was you were Ken?
I was Ryu.
Yeah, Ryu and Street Fighter.
Ryu. And we can argue all day about how to pronounce his name. I say Ryu. A lot of the Japanese say Ru.
Oh, okay.
I think we're pronouncing it the same. I think I'm just talking slower, but I was Ryu. I was Ryu on the Street Fighter Alpha series for about 3 seasons. And Ken was an actor friend of mine named Jason Douglas. And Guile, the military guy character, was played by a comic friend of mine, Rob Mungle. And down the road, we'd go in and they'd be like, oh, you have about 8 hours in the studio. We'll break it up into 2 4-hour chunks. And we just got very comfortable because we did a lot of episodes, It wasn't. So they would mess with me. So Rob, who's this comic friend of mine, would would record his character doing some of my stand-up bits.
Oh,
and I'd have to be doing a scene with him, and they'd give me this alternate recording of Rob making fun of me, and I'd be like, that's not nice.
Oh man!
But yeah, it was neat. I got to do that, and we were never in the studio together, but I had so many friends that were also playing parts on that show that there were a lot of times where I'd be like, you have to take out all that. Just give me the Japanese voices. I can't do this because I can tell that's Mike McRae, and I can't do it I can't do it without laughing. Yeah, we got lucky. There's a brilliant director named Stephen Foster who wrote a great book called The Last Alias recently about his life. But Stephen Foster was working for this company called AD Vision back when doing English dubbing on anime was a thing. People wanted DVDs of anime with English dubs.
Right.
And I was one of his core group of actors, and they did those here in Houston. So whenever I was off the road, I'd get to go out and do some of that anime. Yeah, it was neat to be part of that.
Yeah, that's freaking cool, dude.
Yeah.
And now it's different. Back then we were just trying to sell DVDs basically.
Right.
But now it's a different market, so it's a little different now.
Completely. Yeah. And you can do it from your home.
Exactly. Well, and we were talking, there's been buzz about doing another season of Ghost Stories.
Oh yeah.
Which would be ridiculous because we've already dubbed all of the animation that they gave us. We'd have to produce their animation as well.
Got to come up with some new stuff there, guys.
But it's gotten so popular that they're like, you guys should do this. And I'm like, well, it's not up to us,
Yeah.
Right. we don't really have the artistic control over that. Well, hey, if you ever need an extra voice, I know.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Now, okay.
I see you have a microphone. I too have a microphone.
All right.
And okay. I actually have 2, so I can be in stereo. I know.
I see now you have 2 microphones.
Bumping me in the face, and now it just fell on the ground, so it's awesome.
I step back and concede to your 2 microphones.
Well, the other one's from Target. This one, not so much.
I got
But yeah, that was a karaoke microphone, by the way. It's about $15. You can find it in the toy aisle, and you can become a professional broadcaster at that point.
Okay, you haven't witnessed karaoke until you have watched Tommy Drake do his version of Downtown.
I'm not a good singer. Here, Gracie's here. Say hi, Gracie.
Oh, hi, Gracie.
Oh, Matt. Yeah, you missed it.
Matt.
Yeah. Matt's a huge cat fan.
So Matt is just as much into food and cats as you are, Tommy.
Oh wow. Well, why am I not talking to him?
You know what? Yeah,
because Matt hates people.
We have so much in common.
Yeah. But okay, so this is how crazy is how crazy Tommy is about food. There he is.
Man. Hey, kitty, yay!
Meow,
meow. Oh my god, dude.
Hi, Gracie.
Hi, Gracie.
How's it going? Hello. My cats are running around like insane people.
Nice. Now, do you let your cats eat the food that you cook?
Oh God.
No, they're only like 7 months old.
Here it is.
Oh yeah, you have to be careful with their diet.
There it is.
All right, so Matt,
I need a disclaimer on this. It says yes, we're nerds, but I'm just gonna say yes, Tommy and Matt are nerds.
So Matt, you'll totally appreciate this. So a couple years ago, my parents' 50th anniversary was in Lake Tahoe, right?
Okay.
And Tommy,
north or south?
Where did we
East
stay?
or
We
west?
stayed in.
I think it's South Lake Tahoe where the house was. Yeah.
Right. So we stayed in South. Okay.
Yeah.
So Tommy lives in Houston and is based out of Houston. He flew, 50 pounds of cooking equipment out to out to the. So yeah,
they might not have it.
Yeah, an entire checked bag of kitchenware. Yeah.
So he had his
awesome.
He had his fresh pasta maker there. And the last night we collaborated on a meal where he made fresh pasta for the family. I made chicken, and it was, but yeah, that's how nuts Tommy is about food. And we went there a couple years ago for Thanksgiving, and like Tommy had us fat and happy the whole weekend.
Yeah, nice. I love cooking. That's why this is hard, man. I can't look down. I can't. I'm stuck home, which is like I'm never home. When I'm on the road, I fantasize about just being able to cook in my kitchen.
Yeah,
I'm stuck at home. I walk through my kitchen and I can't cook. Yeah, I need an angled mirror.
Yeah,
everything's reversed.
I'm trying to flip the egg, but it just keeps going off the pan. Oh wow, yeah, it's. Oh God, we're gonna lose this here.
The cat's gonna love all that dropped food.
Oh yeah.
All that.
And if you are somehow just tuning in with us, this is comedian Tommy Drake. Let me put your disclaimer back up there. There it is. Award-winning stand-up comic. Yes. Tommy, this has been just absolutely amazing, man. I mean, when Andy said, it's like, it's my brother, right? And we're like, what? And so yeah. I just told Andy, you're getting him on.
Yeah.
And
well, Kristian, I was joking earlier about old radio guys getting into the new the new medium here, but I really love it when I get to talk to guys like you that have experience doing this, because people know I'm home. It's like always like a 20-year-old comic that's like, you got to do my podcast. I'm like, okay. And it's like, it's like, unless you've spent 1,000 hours interviewing somebody, this is not easy to do. So
yeah, well,
so I appreciate your guys. I appreciate your experience, your expertise. I appreciate you letting me talk a little bit. This is nice.
Oh, sir, this has just been. It's all you, man. You make this easy, and that's what I love about it. I love, especially I've got very similar background. I mean, not really anywhere close to the experience you have, but I know some of what you've done.
Joker too.
We come from the comedy world. We come from the same.
And I love it. My sister was a actress and a playwright, and had a very successful show in San Francisco for years, so I understand a lot of that. But yeah, and I love hearing about all this, and somebody with your your resume and background. I was just like, and if nobody understood what that means, it's that means my brain just blew up. Which
and I have a quick question for you, Tommy.
Actually, yes, man.
Did you ever play the Punchline in San Francisco?
Yes,
I'd say 96, 97.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh wow! I worked right across the walkway at the Embarcadero Center Cinemas.
Okay, so the Punchline was on the 3rd floor.
Yeah,
and the walkway was like on the 2nd floor, right? To the
cinema.
Yeah. And that's just outside of the Punchline on that 3rd floor is where the comedians in the audience would smoke pot illegally.
I was going to say,
that's what that smell was coming from. Yes,
yeah, but I got
there.
I got to do the Punchline. I think I did a week there with Sue Murphy.
Cool.
I don't know if you guys remember Sue.
Which is so funny because that night I remember I went and saw your show with you. I was there, and Sue Murphy was there, but then all of the other comics that were playing in San Francisco that night ended up in that little area right outside.
Oh,
and we were getting a fashion show from Sue, doing the little catwalk turns.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And there were a couple of other, I think Al Madrigal was there.
Yeah.
He's gotten to be kind of a big time actor now. And I don't think Jim Brewer was there that night.
No.
But I know he came out and visited Sue some other night when I was working.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of the comics would come to the Punchline at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of coming to
a lot of them would walk through our lobby.
Oh yeah.
And you'd be like, "Ooh, they must be going to the Punchline."
Yeah, that was a cool room, man.
And everybody'd ask Matt, "Hey, you want to go check it out?" I'm too high.
I don't like.
But I got popcorn right here. We're gonna go watch Star Wars for the 9th time.
No, I'm gonna go kick celebrities out of theaters for putting their feet up on chairs.
Right.
It's always my fun thing. I'll never forget the drummer for Metallica thought it was a big deal, and
good old Lars.
It's hilarious because everyone because he went and saw a movie, and all these people are sitting around talking to him and looking at him he's a big star. And I went in to go do a theater check, and just go, "Excuse me, sir, you're going to need to put your feet down. Get him off the back of that chair, please."
Don't you know
and
who
the look
I
on
am?
his face was just wonderful. And he'll never remember this, but I'll never forget it, because how dare this guy tell me to do that? It's I'll kick your ass out. I don't care. That's where I have fun.
Yeah.
I have
by the way,
prick to rock
band,
stars.
sir, but
I have a brilliant comic friend named Jeff Shaw, who's look up Jeff Shaw's Dry Bar Special. He's got 2 of them. They're both really funny. But he was living on the Carnival Dream, running their comedy club years ago. And the comedy club seats 500 people. It's a big room, but it would get full. And there was this lady looking for a seat, and
you seem surprised that it got full.
Jeff sees a guy that has his feet up on an empty chair, right? So Jeff goes over and says, "Hey, can I take this?" The guy goes, "Sure." He pulls it over. He goes, "Here, ma'am, I got a seat for you." She goes, "I'm not going to sit on that chair. That guy's feet were up there." And Jeff says, "Let me go get you a chair that's had asses on it all day," and walks away.
Yes.
And I was just so happy that I got to witness that moment. And then never went back to the lady. So she stood next to an empty chair to watch her show.
Oh man.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
It was such a great moment.
Oh, and then he forgot to throw in bitch.
Yeah.
But,
and I mentioned watch Jeff's Dry Bar Special. Watch anything that anybody has online. Look for the official one. Watch it. But even the free stuff, watch the free stuff, because so many of my friends are living off the residuals right now.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
you guys, a lot of people think they can't be a patron of the arts because they can't afford, $160 ticket. But you could literally be a patron of the arts by, committing to watching an hour of stand-up a week.
Yep.
Online, or you're on Netflix or whatever, you guys, whenever you guys pass around my special, it means a lot to me.
Or liking and following and subscribing one of your favorite podcasts.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Well, I always tell people this. I mean, Becky's going to start listening to this now. My wife listens to shows like yours in the morning when she's getting ready. And
awesome.
So I'm going to make sure that she gets you on the list.
Nice. So yeah, she'll listen for 5 minutes and go, "Oh, it's Andy."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, everybody likes Andy.
Oh, so it's me they hate. I got it.
Yes.
All right. So, Tommy.
Yes.
We do a little thing called random news, weird news.
Okay.
And we have some stories picked, and we wanted to know if you wanted to join in with us talking about these random weird news bits.
I'd love to.
Yes. Oh God, this is cool. All right. So what we do is, and let me get to my technological advice over here.
Okay, so this will be about 5 minutes before this all comes up.
I hope you don't think this is cheating, but I have to have a pen and paper in front of me if we're going to do this.
Oh,
is that okay?
No, yeah, no worries.
Oh, of course.
Okay, cool.
So, as I alluded to earlier, I had a friend of mine send me a story. Anybody I know, like I try, hey, you find something weird or just stupid, send them to me. Well, then that's how I ended up with Matt and Andy. But,
weird and stupid,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I got this story, which I found absolutely amazing. 8 ways magic mushrooms explain Santa's story.
Oh, wow. Hang on a sec. I am uniquely qualified to talk about this in a bunch of different ways that you have no idea.
All right, so
let's
real
high
quick,
five right now because I'm right there with you.
Okay.
So before you get into the story, so Tommy co-hosts a podcast called the After Later Podcast, and he did a great series with my other brother, Lieutenant Dan, on his, because Dan's a retired Navy pilot who had some weird sightings that he can now talk about. But actually, one of my favorite episodes of your podcast is you and John getting high on weed and then freaking out on the weed afterwards.
Yeah.
and that was just like it got better and better and more manic as it went on, and it was one of the funnest things to listen to ever. So
oh my God.
Yeah, we were exploiting, there was a legal loophole in Houston that allowed us to smoke weed legally for the first time. So we recorded it, and it was it was funny.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
But let's talk about magic mushrooms.
Yeah, let's talk about this. I can't wait for this story.
All right. So yes. Okay, yeah. And we are running out of time, so I want to at least get this one in here. So the story of Santa and his flying reindeer can be traced to an unlikely source: hallucinogenic or magic mushrooms, according to one theory. Santa is a modern counterpart of a shaman who consumed mind-altering plants and fungi to commune with the spirit world. This is according to John Rush, an anthropologist and instructor at, imagine this, Sierra College in Rocklin, California. There are 8 ways that hallucinogenic mushrooms explain the story of Santa and his reindeer. Let's see. First off,
I feel like hallucinogenic mushrooms can explain anything at any time if given the proper dosage. Like, you give me a hallucinogenic mushroom, I'm sure I could explain something completely unexplainable.
Oh yeah, and I've got a buddy of mine from back in the day, Matt Walker. Me and him, we bought an 1/8 of mushrooms out in Santa Cruz, and we couldn't find anybody else to take them with us, so we just kind of ripped the bag in half. He took half, I took half. We were gone the entire day, and I'm sure you guys know Highway 17.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
I drove that tripping balls all the way back over to my house, and then we went swimming in our pool for about an hour and a half. And that was until my uncle, who lived with us at the time, came up, walked and stood over the edge of the pool, because we just swam underwater. We didn't swim above water because that was too logical.
Right.
I came up to the edge of the pool and looked right up at my uncle, and he said, Kristian, I think it's time you get your ass out of the pool. Okay, Uncle Dwight, I'll do that. Why don't you do that now? Okay. So we got out of the pool, and then we decided to take showers because we're going to go out to a party that night. And I'm in my room, and I hear Matt in the shower. Because it's still foggy. He's making a foghorn sound. Anyway. That's just a small part of my life. Arctic shamans gave out mushrooms on the winter solstice. I apologize. According to the theory, the legend of Santa derives from shamans in the Siberian and Arctic regions who dropped into locals' teepee-like homes with a bag full of hallucinogenic mushrooms as presents in late December, Rush says. As the story goes, I'm sorry,
man. It's like a dead show.
Hey,
just grab a handful. Man. It's all good.
Are we moving? I don't know, man. I think we're parked.
I'm going to tell my wife, Becky, that we should give each other more traditional Christmas gifts this year.
I mean, I'm really digging the Arctic shamans. Yeah. As the story goes, up until a few hundred years ago, these practicing shamans or priests connected to the older traditions would collect Amanita muscaria, the holy mushroom, dry them, and then give them as gifts on the winter solstice. Rush told because snow is usually blocking doors, there was an opening in the roof through which people entered and exited, thus the chimney story.
Okay.
Now, mushrooms like gifts are found beneath pine trees. That's just one of the symbolic connections between. Dude, this is all really starting to make a lot of sense now. Between the mushroom and the iconography of Christmas, according to several historians and ethnomycologists, I guess that's mushroom people, or people who study fungi's influence on human societies. I never even knew that was a thing. Somebody's really got a sad life if they're studying the effect of mushrooms on people's lives in history and human societies. Of course, not all scientists agree that the Santa story is tied to a hallucinogen. Well, imagine that.
Yeah.
In his book,
mushrooms. Will you do Easter next?
That is the age.
The only way to explain any religious holiday is through hallucinogenics.
Yeah.
There's not a single religious holiday that makes any sense at all.
Yeah.
Unless you're hallucinating. So yeah, I would guess that you could trace them all the way back. And there's some religious history there, right? There's the oracle at Delphi was breathing in gas and hallucinating and then telling these stories that turned into rituals, So there's some actual history there. But yeah, I think that there's a huge connection. I mean, you've been to a Catholic service and he's swinging around incense, before he reads out of the book.
Incense.
Exactly. What does that symbolize?
Dig this, man.
We're gonna need you. We're gonna need you to open your mind a little bit because we're gonna tell you some stories that are kind of unbelievable unless you breathe in.
Hey man,
all right.
This priest is far out, man.
All right, Kristian, I'm gonna try to do this in a tasteful way. I think you need to know before we talk further about this story that for 2 years. There are shopping mall Santas, and then there are some high-level Santas at certain spots. And the roof of Macy's in San Francisco was a high-level Santa spot. And actors like me would go audition to be part of that because it paid pretty good for a month. And I was just thinking I was going to be one of the elves, but they had really good makeup and really good costumes, and they let me be a Santa in the magical Santa area, right? Ooh, now, what made this the real Santa is you would get walked through Santa Land by the elves, right, and see the history of Santa. They'd talk about the magic mushrooms, all the drugs, everything. You'd see the history, and the elves were very personable young actors that would talk to the kids. So I would get a quick dossier before they came into the room. So I had all this knowledge, and some of the parents were so clueless that they would get angry. They'd be like, how does he know all this stuff about the kid? Because you just said it 5 minutes ago. That's how I know. But I've always had a soft spot in my heart for magic and for the idea of expressing magic and letting people experience magical stuff. And I got to do that so many times in that chair with these kids that couldn't believe I knew their name, where they were from, what they wanted, whether or not they were good, you know? And it was neat because just like hallucinogenic mushrooms, it made everybody believe in magic for a minute.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, I would guess, and it's funny trying to trace the Santa myth. Like I do a lot of historical tracing for writing. And that's just one of those things that you can keep going back further and further and further. Like there's always going to be a story of some powerful guy living off by himself that, you know, that has some magical powers that he uses for something frivolous. You know, it's like it's kind of an old
call him
story.
my drug dealer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The reindeer thing was the real hooker here, and I was trying to kind of jump towards it.
Yes.
Like that, giving you a little background. The reindeer are common in Siberia and Northern Europe and seek out these hallucinogenic fungi, as the area's human inhabitants have also been known to do. Donald Pfister, a Harvard University biologist who studies fungi, suggests that Siberian tribesmen who ingested fly agaric may have hallucinated that the grazing reindeer were flying. At first glance, one thinks it's ridiculous, but it's not, says Carl Ruck. Carl.
It's totally not, man.
He's a professor of classics at Boston University. Who ever heard of reindeer flying? I think it's becoming the general knowledge that Santa is taking a trip with his reindeer. Yeah, no kidding. Amongst the Siberian shamans, you have an animal spirit you can journey with in your vision quest, Ruck continued. And reindeer are common. Okay, they just made it way too hippie at that point.
Yeah. Like if there's a low level fog on the ground, everybody looks like they're flying. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
Like it's fine.
Yeah. That's what my skateboard was for. Look, I'm floating. Yes. And it was that was way too much fun.
Well, now we need to tie this into our modern Christmas traditions. You guys, I think we should all create an ornament that's a shout out to the mushroom theory.
Oh yeah, well,
in a tasteful way. But I think it belongs.
Well, and I'm gonna dress like the shaman for our Christmas.
Nice.
And really try to screw with my son.
Oh, that's
well,
a good
and
idea.
that's where that's one of the other things they were talking about is the red and white suits were the shaman suits, so that's why those came around. And I was like,
that makes sense.
So, this really gets a lot more in depth. It was not as I thought. It was just kind of a quick little short fun story.
Oh.
No, people have really put a lot of effort into this clip.
It's well researched.
And there is it's kind of sucking the fun out of the whole fact that Santa Claus was tripping on mushrooms with elves and the reindeer. And there was also a story that my friend read off to me about, and it's in here somewhere, and I can't find it. But about how apparently the reindeer would these guys would make tea out of the mushrooms, and then they would drink the tea, and the reindeer somehow could smell the stuff in the pee, and they would come running after him. And I don't know. Anyway. And so now there's a picture of a tapeworm on here.
The whole Jesus thing just distracts from the true meaning of Christmas. Yeah,
right. That's just craziness.
Happens to be born on the same day and just...
Well, actually, Jesus was born more towards September, October. But anyway.
So it's not the reason for the season.
No, the mushrooms are the reason for the season. And if you've been on a shopping spree lately, that is true. There's the red and white mushroom sale going on now. Okay.
It's that time of year. You know.
It is for sitting at home tripping and playing video games, man. It's hot.
Speaking of video games, I'm sorry to interrupt and just go off tangent, but remember that video game I was updating the other day, Chris?
Yes.
Not nearly as much fun as we thought it was going to be.
We as in you and
my wife and I.
Oh, well,
I just thought I'd bring us down a little before we go.
Well, now my
Back
Christmas
to reality
is ruined.
after all the mushroom talk.
Yeah.
Well, listen, Tommy.
Guys, I'm having a bad trip, guys. I'm having a bad trip.
I'm pretty sure the pain pills are starting to really wear off at this point.
Where's my cat? Have you seen my cat? Where's my cat?
I smell something cooking. I got problems.
I'm 15 minutes past my next pain pill. I can feel every staple. I can feel every staple right now. I hope you appreciate this.
Oh, jeez, dude. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Tommy Drake. Tommy, do you have something coming up soon that we can plug here for you?
Yeah, I'm so glad we're plugging this because little shows like this never get plugged here, and it'd be so neat if you're coming to this. Just email me. I will set you up with tickets. So, absolute free tickets if you're anywhere near Houston. It's at Rudyard's, which is a very cool venue. It's a bar in downtown Houston. And they have an upstairs music venue, and they've been doing stand-up comedy there off and on for over 40 years. Every major comic on the planet has done a set at Rudyard's. They're doing a show there. It's called Storytellers. I'm one of maybe 8 or 9 people on the show. And the idea is unbelievable stories. So normally, my stand-up is very much changing topics, setup, punchline. But for this, my first live show back with the neck brace, I'm just going to be sitting on a stool telling 2 or 3 stories to cover about 10 minutes.
Oh, cool.
But it's one of those creative things. So you might I think if you come hang out, not necessarily for me, but you might see the debut of a bit that turns iconic later. So I'd love to have you guys come out, and that's on the 19th. Come out to Rudyard's and see the Unbelievable Story show with my buddy Ku Agenti. He's running that show. He's an African comic, and he tells you he's African the whole time. He keeps reminding you that he's African, and he's very funny.
Right on. You can email Tommy on his website, tommydrake.com. If you're in the Houston area, get some tickets.
Tom at tommydrake.com. I will set up your listeners with any free tickets if they want to come out, and and anybody that wants to that wants to be a patron of the arts, come out, bring some friends, and buy your own tickets.
And that's December 19th.
December 19th, and I'd love to have you out there. And I think it's going to be a real cool. I'm more excited about watching the other comics than I am about doing my set. So it's going to be one of those nights.
And are they going to televise it or have it?
No, we are not going to do any sort of podcast online share of that. The only thing that might happen is there might be some clips posted after the fact.
Sure.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, you guys are. I think because it's a bar, you got to be 21 to be in there. But at the very least, you have to be 18, I think. But they do have food. They do have booze, and they probably have masking rules and possibly social distance seating. I won't know until I get there that night. But I know that Rudyard's.
Well, Houston's let up a lot, though, haven't they?
It's a sine wave like everywhere else.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I know down in Austin they've been really loosening things up, and Dallas too, hasn't it?
Yeah, Dallas. I was shocked. It was like mid-pandemic. My buddy John and I went out to Dallas to do a show, and they were not wearing masks and sitting on top of each other, like they weren't even trying. And I'm like, okay, we got real nervous. We stopped at the first truck stop and did a horse bath. We're like, we're in the middle of it.
And then you got out of the bathroom quick because
it's usually where
truck stop bathrooms are scary. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. All right. Tommy, well, Tommy, this has been absolutely amazing, dude. Seriously.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
If you ever get a chance where you can come back on, please let us know. We would love to have you back on later, man.
Cool. Yeah. I'd love to come back on. And I see in your chat, some people are mentioning Bob Smiley. Brilliant comic. Another guy that works clean. Another guy that you guys should look up. Bob Smiley. And I bet if you reached out to him and told him that Andy was my brother, he'd do your show. So if you want to talk to another clean comic that's in the Christian comedy lane, you could ask him the same questions you asked me. And Bob's a brilliant act, and a couple of your listeners had mentioned him. So, so definitely check him out, guys. Watch his Dry Bar.
Okay, cool. Well, and watch your dry bar comedy.
Yes, yes.
Watch it twice.
Yes, yeah, or 3 or 4 times.
I will get in touch with you guys in a couple months with a new album release.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Nice.
So we're looking at March or April, but I'd love to come on close to that when I have a real date.
That'd be cool, dude.
Okay, cool.
Tommy, dude, thank you so much, man. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really, truly appreciate you taking the time, man, and get that healed up because
thanks, man.
You know, Andy's gonna come and try and annoy you.
You take care of Gracie.
Of course.
Yes.
Gracie's the most important thing.
Yes,
right.
This is true. Besides your brother. So
yeah,
right.
Well,
there's precedence there.
Yeah. Oh, there's an older brother that's more important.
Dan's the most important brother.
Yeah,
everybody knows that.
Right. Yeah.
According to your mom.
Well, I know what it's like being the middle kid, so I'm right there with you, Tommy. So it's all good. All right, Tommy. Again, thank you so much,
dude.
brother. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Heal up well, bro.
Thanks,
Appreciate
gentlemen.
you, man.
Take care.
Thank you. All right, guys. Oh my God, dude. That was just the absolute best. I cannot believe it. That was so cool. All right. Well, listen, we've got to wrap things up and we've got to get rolling. Next week, we have Bruce for lunch.
Yay!
On a Wednesday.
Bruce
for lunch. We've got
Thursday?
a comedy fun going through the month of December here. So
That's great.
Bruce for lunch, Middle Hollywood Square.
Amazing.
Comedic writing genius. And he will be out there. Don't forget, Neil Getzlow's book is out there. That is Unmasked. Make sure you check that out. He is our official sponsor of the show. And SJ Network, as always, thank you so much for representing us and getting us all our fantastic guests and Matt.
My calendar says that we're having Bruce on Thursday.
Oh, is it Thursday? I thought it was Wednesday. Oh, maybe. Okay.
That's what you emailed me, man.
Yeah. Okay. So Thursday.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll be on next week, Thursday, Wednesday, somewhere around there. But
not
in the
Tuesday.
meantime, please take care of each other, be good to each other, and we're all we got out there. So let's back each other up and have a great time. All right. In the meantime, gentlemen, Andy, Rum and Regrets, and Matt's Photos. We'll all see you in the following week coming up. Have a beautiful, beautiful week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Mwah!